it was a problem that his cult of following was so potent that people would lose sight of what is true and what is not because they would just follow whatever he said. That's just, at the end of the day, dangerous.
The establishment media brought on Neil deGrasse Tyson to run a standard, corporate-approved hit piece on populist voters, but they just accidentally exposed their entire playbook on live tape. Today, we are breaking down the exact psychological framework, the illusory truth effect, that the globalist uniparty and the legacy press have weaponized against the American people to manufacture consent for decades. They thought they were attacking the America First movement, but instead, they confessed to exactly how the Matrix operates and how the internet has been turned into the ultimate brainwashing engine. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we are ripping the veil off this machine.
When you have a leader like Donald Trump, who was, very popular and divisive in equal measure as president of the United States, but when he could look at the sky when it was blue and say it's grey, and a lot of his supporters would then think it's grey because he had such a hold over them, how dangerous is that?
Yeah, so what happens is, if you're in a democracy, if the electorate, in a democracy, you expect there some power of sway that is given to those with personality, all right, with charisma. All right, President Kennedy had a bit of a charisma about him. So you kind of expect that. You even want a little bit of that. I don't have a problem with this. We don't put people into the presidency based on their resume. If we did, half the presidents that were voted in would have never become presidents. They're voted in because there's something about them that you like, that you like their panache, their attitude, their, one of my favorite quotes from Harry Truman, just coming out of the Second World War, his moniker was, "Give him hell, Harry," right? And they say, "Mr. President, why are you always giving people hell?" And his response was, "No, I tell them the truth. They think it's hell." So he was an honest guy. So I think it's okay to like someone on a personal level. People said of George W. Bush that, my issue with him was that he couldn't pronounce the word nuclear, yet he had access to nuclear codes. So as a physicist, that's a little worrisome. But people said you can have a beer with him. And I spent a little bit of time in that Bush White House. And one time we made eye contact, and I felt like I'd known him my whole life. There was some extra chemistry there. And I see that, and I understand how politicians can rise because of it. But at some point, they cannot be the total source of your knowledge and your enlightenment and your wisdom, because you're an individual. And especially in the American documents, there's probably at least some of this in other Western world democracies, but certainly the American documents, it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's our government. It's not the leader's government. And we can forget that after a while. We can say, I want the leader to make all decisions for me. Then what are you? Then you're a follower, but it's the leader who actually should be following you. In a democracy, even in a republic, where you have someone in between you and the top dog. So it was a problem that his cult of following was so potent that people would lose sight of what is true and what is not because they would just follow whatever he said. That's just, at the end of the day, dangerous.
You made a very good point in the book that there are not many people left alive who probably remember what it was like to actually endure Nazism, for example, fascism at its worst. And that because of that, when it comes round again in the way that we're seeing now in certain parts of the world, people don't really understand the danger or how bad it can get very quickly.
I just suggested that might be a cause because, like you just said, not just signs of it in the United States, but many other parts in the world. There are leaders that are rising up where their personality and their charisma to their followers is bigger than any analysis of objective truths that should be behind the decisions that are getting made. And once you control the public, your electorate at that level, then they're putty in your hands. So I hate to be so cynical, but the last person a politician wants is somebody who can completely think for themselves. It means they're not susceptible to, and by the way, I'm not even blaming politicians, because why do politicians lie? Because they're telling us what we want to hear.
Right.
Because we know if they told us the truth, we wouldn't vote for them. So politicians, I think, are a symptom of the public's, of the state of the public, not the other way around.
Let's completely deconstruct what Tyson just admitted, because this is the skeleton key to understanding the modern political warfare being waged against your mind every single day. The establishment desperately wants to frame this illusory truth effect as some unique disease that only affects independent thinkers or populist voters. But let's be devastatingly honest. Look at the last decade of corporate media narratives. Russia collusion, safe and effective, transitory inflation. They don't need actual evidence, they just need endless repetition. Tyson literally said it out loud. If you repeat something over and over, your brain natively says it must be true, and you lose all curiosity. That is the exact business model of the legacy media and the Washington Uniparty. They flood your feeds, your televisions, and your algorithms with the exact same approved talking points morning, noon, and night. Why? Because it bypasses your logic entirely. It is surreptitious manipulation. You think you came to the conclusion yourself, but you were actively programmed. Tyson correctly identified that the internet is the world's greatest propaganda machine, but he stopped just short of pointing the finger at the tech oligarchs and intelligence agencies who are actively turning those dials to suppress independent thought. And then there's this concept of the cult of personality. The media loves to project this onto the right, but look at how the establishment worships the state. The moment you hand over your sovereignty and say, let the government experts make all the decisions for me, you are no longer a citizen of a constitutional republic. You are a subject. You become the exact putty Tyson warned about. When loyalty to a party or a system replaces your own two eyes, democracy is already dead. But the absolute killshot of this entire interview was Tyson's closing revelation. Politicians are a symptom of the public. Let that sink in. The uniparty liars in Washington only exist because a massive portion of this country would rather be spoon-fed a comfortable, catastrophic lie than swallow a brutally uncomfortable truth. The demagogues and the corporate elite don't create the brainwashing, they just supply the overwhelming demand for it. That is the real battle we are fighting right now. We aren't just fighting corrupt politicians, we are fighting a nationwide culture of complacency. We have to be the ones demanding the uncomfortable truth, tearing down the establishment narratives, and refusing to be manipulated by a media apparatus that holds everyday Americans in utter contempt. Are you willing to be the one who demands the hard truth? Or are you going to stay putty in the hands of the establishment? Let me know down in the comments right now. Smash that like button, share this video everywhere to break their algorithm, and make sure you are subscribed to Floor Leader Insider. Stay sharp, question everything, and I'll see you in the next one.